2022 for consideration. Pursuant to Section 58, subsection 2 of 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, I forward here with the Civil Defense, Correctional, Federal Fire and Immigration Service Board Bill 2022 for the current consideration of the Senate. The Civil Defense, Correctional, Federal Fire and Immigration Service Board Bill 2022 seeks to establish the Civil Defense, Correctional, Federal Fire and Immigration Services Board to adequately reflect the current relationship between the board, core, and the services and align their composition, structure, functions, and practices to attain the intended mandate of the services. While hoping that this submission will receive the usual expeditious consideration of the Senate, please accept, distinguished Senate President, the assurances of my highest consideration. Yours sincerely, Muhammadu Buhari. Another letter from Mr. President. Dear distinguished Senate President, submission of the 2022 Appropriation Amendment Proposal. As I indicated at the signing of the 2022 Appropriation Act, I forward here with the proposals for the amendment of the 2022 Appropriation Act as detailed in Schedules 1 to 5 for the current consideration and approval by the Senate. Let me seize this opportunity to once again express my deep gratitude to the leadership and members of the Senate for the expeditious consideration and passage of the 2022 Appropriation Bill, as well as the enabling 2021 Finance Bill. It has become necessary to present this amendment proposal considering the impacts of the recent suspension of the Petroleum Metal Spirit PMS subsidy removal and adverse implications that some changes made by the National Assembly in the 2022 Appropriation Act could have for the successful implementation of the budget. It is important to restore the provisions made for various key capital projects in the 2022 executive proposal, see details in Schedule 1, that were cut by the National Assembly. This is to ensure that critical ongoing projects that are cardinal to this administration and those nearing completion do not suffer a setback due to reduced funding. It is equally important to reinstate the 25.81 billion naira cut from the provision for the power sector reform program in order to meet the federal government's commitment under the financing plan agreed with World Bank. In addition, it is necessary to reinstate the 4 capital projects totaling 1.42 billion naira in the executive proposal for the Federal Ministry of Water Resources that are removed in the 2022 Appropriation Act. Furthermore, there is critical and urgent need to restore the 3 billion naira cut from the provision made for payment of mostly long outstanding local contractors' debt and other liabilities as part of our strategy to reflect the economy and spur growth. See Schedule 1. You will agree with me that the inclusion of National Assembly's expenditures in the executive budget negates the principles of separation of powers and financial autonomy of the legislature. It is therefore necessary to transfer the National Assembly's expenditures totaling 16.5 billion naira in the service-wide work to National Assembly's statutory transfer provision. It is also imperative to reinstate the 22 billion naira cut from the provision for sinking fund to retire mature loans to ensure that government can meet its obligations under already issued bonds as and when they mature. The cuts made from provisions for the recurrent spending of Nigeria's foreign missions, which are already constrained, are capable of causing serious embarrassment to the country as they mostly relate to office and residential rentals. Similarly, the reductions in provisions for allowances payable to personnel of the Nigerian Navy and police formations and commands could create serious issues for government. It is therefore imperative that these provisions be restored as proposed in Schedule 2. It is also absolutely necessary to remove all capital projects that are replicated in the 2022 Appropriation Act. 139 out of the 254 such projects totaling 13.24 billion naira have been identified to be deleted from the budget. Some significant and non-mandate projects were introduced in the budgets of the Ministry of Transportation, Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, and Office of the Head of Civil Service of the Federation. There are several other projects that have been included by the National Assembly in the budgets of agencies that are outside their mandate areas. The Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning has been directed to work with the relevant committees to comprehensively identify and align all such misplaced projects. It is also necessary to restore the titles description of 32 projects in the Appropriation Act to the titles contained in the executive proposal for the Ministry of Water Resources in furtherance of our efforts to complete and put to use critical agenda projects. The appropriation amendment request is for a total sum of 106 billion 161 million 499,052 naira only for capital expenditures and 43 billion 870 million 592,044 naira only for recurrent expenditures. I therefore request the National Assembly to make the above amendments without increasing the budget deficit. I urge you to roll back some of the 887 billion, some of the 887.99 billion naira of projects earlier inserted in the budget, but the National Assembly to accommodate these amendments. However, following the suspension of PMS subsidy removal, the 2022 budget framework has been revised to fully provide for PMS subsidy. An additional provision of 2.557 trillion naira will be required to fund the petroleum subsidy in 2022. Consequently, the Federation account main pool revenue for the three tiers of government is projected to decline by 2 trillion naira, while federal government's share from the account is projected to reduce by 1.05 trillion naira. Therefore, the amount available to fund the federal government budget is projected to decline by 969.09 billion naira. Aggregate expenditure is projected to increase by 45.85 billion naira due to additional domestic debt service provision of 102.5 billion naira net of the reductions in statutory transfers by 56.67 billion naira as follows. NDDC by 12.61 billion naira from 102.78 billion naira to 90.18 billion naira. NEDC by 5.90 billion naira from 48.08 billion naira to 42.18 billion naira. UBEC by 19.06 billion naira from 112.9 billion naira to 93.21 billion naira. Basic Health Care Fund by 9.54 billion naira from 56.14 billion naira to 46.60 billion naira. And NASENI by 9.54 billion naira from 56.14 billion naira to 46.60 billion naira. Total budget deficit is projected to increase by 1.01 trillion naira to 7.40 trillion naira, representing 4.01% of GDP. The incremental deficit will be financed by new borrowings from the domestic market. Equally, it is imperative that Clause 10 of the 2022 Appropriation Act, which stipulates that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, and the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, NFIU, are authorized to charge and defray from all money standing in credit to the units as revenues, penalties, or sanctions at 10% for technical setup operational costs at the units in this financial year be repealed. This clause is in conflict with the act establishing these agencies, as well as some other laws and financial regulations of the government. These are neither revenue-generating agencies nor regulatory bodies that generate revenue or charge penalty fees. They are fully funded, personnel, overhead, and capital by government through budgetary provisions. The Fiscal Responsibility Act 2007, as well as the Finance Act 2021, require that these agencies to remit fully any recovered funds to the Consolidated Revenue Fund. This course may lay a dangerous precedent and spark clamors for similar treatment by other anti-corruption agencies. Also, the clause 11, which stipulates that notwithstanding the provisions of any other law in force, Nigerian embassies and missions are authorized to expend funds allocated to them under the capital components without having to seek approval of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs should likewise be repealed. It too is inconsistent with the extant financial regulations and the Public Procurement Act, which set thresholds for approving officers and parastatal ministry standard boards, for which awards of contracts for the procurement of goods and services. This also amounts to an intrusion of the legislature into what is an executive function. Given the urgency of the request for amendments, I seek the cooperation of the National Assembly for expeditious legislative action on the 2022 Appropriation Amendment proposal in order to sustain the gains of any passage of the budget. Please accept the Single Senate President the assurances of my highest consideration. Yours sincerely, Muhammadu Buhari. Birthday announcement. On behalf of the Senate, let me congratulate the following distinguished senators who celebrated their birthdays. Senator Ibrahim Bomai, 10 February. Distinguished Senator Saidu Al-Ghali, 12 February. Distinguished Senator Ojang Ono Sunday Ono, 14 February. I wish our distinguished colleagues very happy birthdays, long lives, prosperity, and many more years of service to our fatherland. Petitions. Oh, you should be in your seat. Petitions, Senator Patrick Ayo Akinye-Lure.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, my name remains Senator Ayo Akinye-Lure, representing Ondo State.
The Chairman Senate Business and Rules. Please look for the most appropriate seat for our distinguished new member. No, that seat is too far.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, my name remains Senator Ayo Akinye-Lure, representing Ondo Central. Mr. President, presentation of petition not laid but referred to the Committee on Ethics from the Office of the President of the Senate. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Ethics, Privilege and Public Petitions, in line with Order 41 and 3, wishes to present to the Senate some petitions yet to be laid from the Office of the President of the Senate. In order to officially place petition in the public domain through the floor of the Senate and for the votes and proceedings to capture the approval for referral. Distinguished colleague, please find below summary of petitions received from the Office of the President of the Senate for ease of reference. 1. Wilson Douglas, respondent, the head of service of the Federation, subject matter of the petition to investigate the just concluded permanent secretary examination conducted by the Office of the Head of Service of the Federation. 2. His Royal Highness I.O. Onegba and 3 others against Nostra. Petition against fundamental human rights abuse, offshoot of meetings, of our concession of the National OSP Decision and Response Agency Nostra, Mobile Producing Nigeria Unlimited, and Messrs. Meniogoi and Company on the negative effect of mobile oil company operation in some impacted communities in Bayelsa and Rivers states. 3. CSC Anyang against NNPC, NDDC, Shell and other oil and gas companies. An official complaint from the concerned indigenes of Omorie Asa, Isimiri, autonomous community and oil producing community in Pokwa, West Local Government Area of Abia State, on the continuous marginalization of the community by the Abia State government and appeal for Senate intervention. Finally, Mr. President, Shinedom Ogwarango against the Chief of Army Staff, petition against Chief of Army Staff and the General Officer Commanding 82 Division of Nigerian Army, Enugu State. Mr. President, the civil senators, to the best of my knowledge, none of the above players seeking judicial remedy. I therefore move, Mr. President, to seek the indulgence of the Senate to lay the above petition before the Senate for official referral to the committee for further legislative action. I so move, Mr. President.
Is any of the petitioners seeking any judicial remedy? You may lay the petitions, please. The petitions are referred to the Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petitions to report back within 4 weeks. Any more petitions? Leader of the Senate. Point of order, Deputy Chief Whip.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I am Aliu Sabi Abdullahi. I represent Niger North Senatorial District. Mr. President, I want to come under Order 42 of our new standing orders. With your permission, Mr. President, I may want to read.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Personal explanation. By the indulgence of the Senate and the leave of the President of the Senate, a senator may make a personal explanation, although there be no question before the Senate, but no controversial matter may be brought forward, nor may debate arise upon the explanation. The terms of the proposed statement shall be submitted in details to the President of the Senate when he is leave to make it is sought. Mr. President, like I told you earlier, my senatorial district has come under another upsurge of bandit attacks, and I would like to make some personal explanations with regard to that.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Upsurge of banditry, cattle rustling, arson, and kidnapping in Niger North Senatorial District. Mr. President, my respected and distinguished colleagues, I bring this personal explanation in a very sad note, as it involves some dastardly events which occurred in Niger North Senatorial District. Mr. President, on Thursday, 10 February 2022, bandits following the hit from their main operational base in Zamfara and Katsina State began to regroup as they gathered in a village named Machita, southwest of Kotonkoro town in Mariga local government area of Niger North. About 100 bandits on motorcycles were also spotted at Dogondao. Additional number of bandits were also sighted around Mairerei in Kebbi State, heading to Niger State using the stock routes, that is Labinshanu, along a town called Ghana to Mogoro, all in Mariga local government. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the fears of attacks by these bandits came to be as they attacked Magama local government area by Friday, 11th, 2022, February, which continued up to yesterday, Monday, at various towns and villages in Magama, Rijau, Kontagora, and Mariga local government areas. The victims of this banditry and terrorism are mostly women and children, with over 300 persons said to be abducted or kidnapped by the bandits. Magama local government was badly affected on Saturday as the bandits attacked Mabirni, Zoma, Bado, Yangalo, and Bugazabi villages. Villagers have abandoned their villages, and currently, villages like Dusai, Lioji, Ragada, Magamandaji, Masabu, Yangalo, Shadadi, Atabo, and Gulbin Boka, Kwimo, and many others are now ghost towns. The result, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues, is that IDPs have alarmingly increased in Niger North Senatorial District, as currently the following locations are now holding and hosting IDPs. In Kontagora local government, Usugu, Government Day Secondary School, Kontagora, Kontagora Town Hall, St. Michael Catholic Church, Federal Low Cost Housing occupying about 15 uncompleted buildings, Police B Division Neighborhood occupying about 7 uncompleted buildings, BGCA Kontagora occupying about 3 buildings, Dadinkowa, and behind a Sangaya school along Zuru Road, and Bayan Wire, that is the NEPA transmission line in Kontagora town. In Mashegu local government, they are located in Ibi. In Rijau local government, we have them in Central Primary School Rijau, KSG Primary School Rijau, Rataegiwa Primary School Rijau, Rafin Mota Primary School in Rijau, and Mini Stadium all in Rijau. In Mariga local government, they are located in Central Primary School Bangi, Government Science College Kotonkoro, Soho Gari Primary School Kotonkoro, Ado Bobi Primary School Mariga, Day Secondary School Mariga, and Islamia School Kasuan Garba. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, in the last substantive motion I moved in this Halo chamber on January 19, 2022, I reported on the use of Niger North, especially Mariga local government area, as a safe haven following attacks on these bandits and terrorists from Zamfara, Sokoto East, and Katsina. However, it does appear that the bandits have scaled up their operations and they have included Rijau, Kontagora, Magama, Mashegu, and Ushishi local government areas for attacks, burning of villages, and rustling of cattle. As at the last count, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, over 2,000 cattle were rustled between Friday 11 February, and Sunday 13 February. In fact, motorists around Tungamangoro had to wait for these, rustlers to be moving for almost hours with the same cattle, and they are unable to do anything. Unfortunately, because of the dangerous nature of these attacks, it is difficult to properly assess and estimate the level of damages and losses. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, my prayer is to simply urge that the prayers and appeals I made in the last motion of 19th January should be properly, taken into consideration and action taken. For avoidance of doubt, Mr. President, in that particular prayers and motion, we said we urge the armed forces and other security agencies involved in the other operations to closely monitor and block the escape paths or routes used by the bandits and fleeing terrorists to forestall their relocation to safe havens in other parts of Niger State. And we also said we strongly suggest that the operation should be overwhelmingly comprehensive enough to close the various parts where these bandits normally take their attacks to. And then we urge the National Emergency Management Agency to provide succor to these bandits. Mr. President, as we speak, honestly, the situation is very terrible. The number of people in Kontagora town and all these places I've mentioned is alarming. And I think, like I said, we want the National Emergency Management Agency to do something about it as quickly as possible. And also all the security agencies to really take a comprehensive approach to these issues. Because yes, they are making successes in all these other areas, but these bandits are looking for safe haven, and of course, my senatorial district is suddenly becoming very unsafe due to that. Mr. President, I so explain.
Thank you very much. Because you have come under our standing order 42, personal explanation, no debate will arise from this personal explanation. And I hope that the authorities have listened to this, your submission, and especially security agencies will redouble their efforts, not only in your senatorial district, but across all those areas that are affected, because they keep on moving from one place to the other. You have mentioned that they came from some parts of Zamfara. So if they are squeezing in a senatorial district, they may move to other Niger East, or maybe back to Zamfara and so on and so forth. So we need a total and comprehensive, holistic effort at making sure that nobody runs out of anywhere they are trapped. Thank you very much. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the first business of the day is the presentation of a House bill sending in my name on the Fisheries Institute of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2022. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Fisheries Institute of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2022, SB 896, first reading.
Fisheries Institute of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2022, HB 896, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the second business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Chukwuka Utazi on the Quarantine Act Cap Q2 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2022. Mr. President, we wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Quarantine Act Cap Q2 LFN 2004, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2022, SB 907, first reading.
Quarantine Act Cap Q2 LFN 2004, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2022, SB 907, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the third business of the day is the presentation of a bill sending in the name of distinguished Senator Nicholas Olubukola Tofowomo on the Federal University of Entrepreneurship of the Board on those State Establishment Bill 2022. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal University of Entrepreneur Odigbo on those State Establishment Bill 2022, SB 925, first reading.
Federal University of Entrepreneur Odigbo Ondo State Establishment Bill 2022, SB 925, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of a bill sent in the name of distinguished Senator Issa Jibril on the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act 2015, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2022. Mr. President, may we invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act 2015, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2022, SB 926, first reading.
Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act 2015, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2022, SB 926, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fifth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Ibrahim Abdullahi Gobir on the National Security Agencies and Victims Compensation Trust Fund Establishment Bill 2022. Mr. President, may we invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, National Security Agencies and Victims Compensation Trust Fund Establishment Bill 2022, SB 927, first reading.
National Security Agencies and Victims Compensation Trust Fund Establishment Bill 2022, SB 927, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate. What's going on? Whip. What's going on? Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, the first order of the day is the second reading of the National Institute for Educational Planning and Administration on those State Bill 2021, SB 832. The two senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this distinguished chamber on Tuesday, 12th October 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Patrick Ayo Akinyelure to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Distinguished Senator Patrick Ayo Akinyelure, Ondo Central, all over one.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, I rise to move that a bill for an act to establish the National Institute of Educational Planning and Administration and other matters connected therewith 2022 SB 2022. I so move, Mr. President.
You may proceed, please. Debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, my name remains Senator Yoaki Elure, representing Ondo Central. Mr. President, distinguished senators of Federal Republic of Nigeria, permit me to lead this debate on the general principle of this important bill. A bill for an act to establish National Institute of Educational Planning and Administration in Ondo. This bill was read for the first time on the floor of the Allo Chamber of the Senate on Tuesday, 12 October 2021. Background. This bill seeks to establish the National Institute of Educational Planning and Administration and provide, among other things, for its functions and other matters relating to educational planning and administration in Nigeria. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the National Institute of Educational Planning and Administration, near Ondo, was established in 1992 by the Federal Ministry of Education in collaboration with the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, and International Institute for Educational Planning, IIEP, as a staff college for planners and managers in the Nigeria education sector and West Africa sub-region. Mr. President, distinguished senators of Federal Republic, the institution was conceived to replace UNESCO IIEP through close collaboration with that institute and other similar institutions worldwide for effective and efficient planning and management of educational system through capacity building, continuous training, consulting, research, information dissemination, and resource center services. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, it is worthy to note that NIEPA, Ondo State, is the only capacity building outfit for education sector planners and managers in Nigeria and the West Africa sub-region, and the only federal parastatal of Federal Ministry of Education in the entire Southwest Nigeria. But sadly, despite the institute's enormous potentials and its long years of operations, the institute does not have an enabling law to strengthen and entrench its core mandates, NIEPA's activities and strategic contribution. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, it is instructive to highlight some activities and important contributions of this institution to the nation's education sector in the last 30 years of its existence. NIEPA staffing. This has in place a total administrative and academic staff of 25 drawn from the political zones of the Federation. NIEPA library. The Institute's library holds 1,537 titles, has linked with Book Aids International. The Institute's documentation center has 4,000 titles and subscribed to ELD 310 electronic databases, training and research. So far, Mr. President and colleague, this has conducted 210 training activities up to July 2019, from a total of 104,123 participants from educational planners and managers, while it has also in recent years been involved in a number of research activities initiated and sponsored from outside, including production of academic journals, monitoring of consultancy projects in selected states in Nigeria, organizing annual conferences on research and innovation for national development, etc. Fundamental objective of the bill. The fundamental objective of the National Institute of Education Planning and Administration bill as follows. 1, to provide innovative planning and management strategies for nation's education sector. B, develop and monitor criteria for improving educational policies and practices in the country's educational system. C, promote a culture of evidence that will guide continuous improvement in educational service delivery at all levels of education. D, provide systematic training for efficient application of planning and management strategies for educational personnel in target areas of need from time to time. C, disseminate information, including the use of ICT to enhance efficiency and productivity in meeting emerging challenges in the nation's educational system. The advantages of the bill. The bill, if passed to law, will 1, provide an every legal and legislative instrument required in the strategic operation activities of NEPA. B, improve the quality of educational training and research provided by NEPA. 3, improve funding for the training of educational professionals. 4, bridge the manpower deficit being experienced in the education sector. And 5, provide employment and accelerate socio-economic development in the host community of the institute. Course implication. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, in line with Order 773 of the Senate Standing Order, as amended, the legislative proposal seeking to establish National Institute of Education Planning and Admission will not add any further financial body in terms of physical structures and manpower need pending the next budgetary consideration by the National Assembly. Conclusion. Mr. President, distinguished citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I owe it a duty to reiterate that this bill is an attempt to provide an enabling legal framework for the implementation of federal government initial decision that gave back to the institute, NEPA. I therefore urge the senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to consider passing this bill in view of many benefits it will bring to our educational system, ultimately enhance national development. Mr. President, I so move for consideration of this bill for second reading. I so move, Mr. President.
Anybody? The distinguished minority leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues,
Chief Whip. Even the Chief Whip is missing in action. No whip today. None of our whips. One is celebrating Pyrrhic victory somewhere. I think we'll appoint Senator Tolo Odidi. No, Samantha Demi cannot be. He's moving all over the place. Maybe we'll appoint Senator Tolo Odidi to be the acting chief whip pending the return of deputy chief whip. So you can take a seat. Minority leader, continue.
Thank you, Mr. President. I and my distinguished colleagues, I want to support this this bill because this institute, I'm very familiar with it and know the quality of this institute. In fact, between 2005 and 2007, I was the chairman of this institute. And I know that it didn't have an enabling law. And every effort was being made to make sure that the law was put in place. So I'm very glad that today we are trying to, an institute like this could not have operated for 30 years. And yet is under the office of the head of service of the Federation. So it doesn't make really good sense. So I think that we should pass this bill with utmost alacrity so that we can bring it in line with the other educational institutions that are training our high-level manpower. I so support.
Is anybody against the bill? Those in favor that this will be now read the second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the National Institute for Educational Planning and Administration and other matters connected there with 2022 SB 832 second reading.
A bill for an act to establish the National Institute for Educational Planning and Administration and for other matters connected there with 2022 second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Education, Basic and Secondary to report back within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the second order of the day is the second reading of the Federal College of Education, Okobo, Akwa Ibom State Establishment Bill 2021. Distinguished colleagues will recall that the bill was read the first time in this distinguished chamber on Tuesday, 14th December 2021. Mr. President, you will wish to invite distinguished Senator Akon Eyakin to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Distinguished Senator Akon Eyakin. Your bill now.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Senator Akon Eyakin, representing Akwa Ibom South Senatorial District. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, thank you for the opportunity to lead the debate on the bill for an act to establish the Federal College of Education, Okobo, in Akwa Ibom State. Please recall that the bill was read for the first time in this hallowed chamber on Tuesday, 14th of December, 2021. This bill chiefly seeks the establishment of a specialized tertiary institution for teachers training, which would help boost education delivery in Akwa Ibom State and the nation at large. As a former teacher with more than 2 decades experience in the profession, I know that education is a prerequisite for qualitative manpower development and creation of wealth. Good quality teachers have important role to play in preparing our younger generation for their roles in national development. Teachers hold the key to the door of quality education. Therefore, quality teachers training is the sure foundation to achieving quality education in Nigeria. Mr. President, my amiable colleagues, Akwa Ibom State, in the data released by the National Bureau of Statistics in 2020, had over 583,000 out-of-school children, the highest in the Niger Delta region of the country, a situation which led the state government to declare a state of emergency in the sector and the immediate employment of 1,000 teachers to help combat the menace. Akwa Ibom State is a growing state whose population is estimated to reach 10 million in the next 15 years. We need to prepare for our future by training the trainers in education. Overview of the bill. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, this bill essentially seeks to provide for the establishment of the Federal College of Education, Okobo, Akwa Ibom State, to bridge the gap in teachers training in the state and the country. The objectives of the college are stated in clause 5 of the bill, which provides as follows: to bridge full-time courses, to provide full-time courses in teaching, instruction, and training. B, to conduct courses of study in education for qualified teachers. C, to plan and organize workshops, conferences, and seminars in specific fields and areas of learning as contained in paragraph A of the section. D, to undertake such other functions which in the consideration of the council will serve the institutional goals and objectives of the college. The college would be located in Ofi, Okobo local government area of Akwa Ibom State, a serene and peaceful environment conducive for learning. Okobo is 30 minutes drive from Uyo, the state capital. The proposed location is strategic as it would spur development in the locality, which is a long-time desire of the residents. Number of clauses and parts. The bill has 3 parts and 24 clauses, including the interpretation, short title, and the schedule page. The bill has the following arrangement. Part 1 deals with the establishment of the college. Part 2 deals with financial provisions. Part 3 deals with supplementary provisions. Schedule. Conclusion. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, it is imperative for us to set up more schools for the training of teachers so as to tackle the dearth of teachers in the country. The importance of education as weapon against ignorance, conflict, disease, and poverty cannot be overemphasized. The establishment of the college holds huge potentials to boost education delivery in Nigeria. Please be reminded that our national objective in education is that no child would be left behind. The college will play a significant role in achieving the objective. Mr. President, the financial compendium is attached herewith. I therefore urge my colleagues to please support the expeditious passage of this bill for second reading. I so move. Thank you.
Yes, the distinguished Senator Michael Nachi.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Michael Nachi. I represent the people of Boys South. Mr. President, if we look back, we will understand that the number of polytechnics established in Nigeria is greater than colleges of education, even universities. We have actually forgotten that we need to train the trainers before we talk of the training. Colleges of education should be the basic of bringing up those who will train our children at the basic levels and middle level basic. So for this bill to come up today, the establishment of College of Education in Okobo, Akwa Ibom State, I cannot do less than to support this bill to its entirety, and I so support.
Is anybody against the bill? Those in favor that this bill be now read the second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the bill for an act establishes a Federal College of Education of Okpogbo, Akwa Ibom State, and for other related matters 2022, SB 842, second reading.
A bill for an act to establish the Federal College of Education, Okobo, Akwa Ibom State, and for other related matters 2022, second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Tertiary Education and Third Fund for further legislative action to report by within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the third order of the day is the second reading of the Bank Employees Asset Declaration Act, Cap B1, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, Amendment Bill 2022. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this distinguished chamber on Wednesday, 26 January 2022. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Mohammed Sani Musa to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Distinguished Senator Mohammed Sani Musa.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, I'm Mohammed Sani Musa, representing Niger East Senatorial District. I stand to lead the debate on a bill for an act to amend the Bank Employees ETC Declaration of Assets Act Cap B1 Laws of the Federation 2010 and for related matters 2022 SB 900. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I'm grateful for the opportunity to lead the debate on this bill, which was read for the first time on the floor of this hallowed chambers on Wednesday, 26 January 2022. This bill seeks to amend the Bank Employees ETC Declaration of Assets Act, Laws of the Federation 2010, and hence bring it in conformity with the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, as well as resolving certain anomalies brought about by present-day realities and best practices in our financial system. It will provide the necessary legal framework regarding assets declaration of employees in financial institutions, pension fund administrators, stockbrokers, and insurance firms, and ensure that their employees' assets declaration are regulated by the relevant and statutory regulator of the specific sector. The statutory regulators for the various sectors are the Central Bank, National Pensions Commission, Securities and Exchange Commission, and the National Insurance Commission. Background of this bill. On 16th March 2021, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, announced that all employees of financial institutions, including banks in Nigeria, must declare their assets before 1st June 2021, in line with the provisions of the Bank Employees ETC Declaration of Assets Act 1986, the EFCC order. The directive elicited several debates as to who the appropriate authority was and the status of the bank workers and bank casual and part-time workers. The Bank Employees Declaration of Assets Act, BEDA, expressly states that all manner, title, and types of workers in the bank and financial institutions are to declare their assets. The Act covers all employees of financial institutions in Nigeria and those in their foreign branches. From the bank executives to cleaners, drivers, messengers, and the last person on their chain, whether in full or temporal appointments. By the provisions of the Principal Acts, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, then, being the appropriate authority, was given the responsibility of keeping completed forms of assets declaration by employees of banks and customs service. Then the Secretary to the Government of the Federation had the combined functions of the present head of service of the Federation as well as the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. Whether those records of assets declaration were kept as prescribed by the Act or not is yet to be ascertained. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, another cogent reason for this amendment is that the Bank Employees ETC Declaration of Assets Acts, hereinafter referred to as the BEDA Acts or the Acts, was promulgated on 26 September 1986, 35 years ago. It is lawful, valid, and operational in all parts of Nigeria. But however, certain provisions in the Act have been overtaken by the 1999 Constitution as amended, with the creation of the Code of Conduct Bureau, which came into effect 13 years after the Act. This therefore justifies the amendment, whereby the definition of the appropriate authority is identified, as well as bringing the provisions to conform with the present-day realities as contained in the 1999 Constitution as amended. Purpose of the bill. This bill seeks to extend the application of the Act to employees of other financial institutions which have emerged as key players in the Nigerian financial sector over the years, such as pension funds agencies, insurance firms, stockbrokers, etc., etc., and to monitor the financial activities of these officers to ensure that their lifestyle reflects their earnings and to discourage them from engaging in corrupt practices. It also seeks to unburden the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation of the responsibility of keeping records of declared assets by Nigerian Customs Service and bank workers, and transferring same to the relevant regulator of each industry. Furthermore, the provisions of the Principal Act mandate the Comptroller General and other employees of the Nigerian Customs Service to declare their assets to the Secretary of the Federation. However, this amendment will cure these inconsistencies and conflict with the 1999 Constitution as amended, which requires that all public servants, including employees of the Nigerian Customs Service, must declare their assets to the Code of Conduct Bureau. It will therefore also amount to a duplication of duty if employees of the Nigerian Customs Service still declare their assets to the Secretary to the Government of the Federation as prescribed by the Principal Act. The bill addresses this anomaly by removing the employees of the Customs Service from employees which the Act applies to. Conclusion, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, this amendment will certainly bring certainty and clarity and also deepen our constitutional mandate in making laws for the good governance of our dear country and also strengthen our democracy. Mr. President, in compliance with Order 773 of Senate Standing Order 2015 as amended, this proposed amendment has no financial burden to the Treasury of the federal government if passed into law. Thank you for your kind attention.
Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I rise to support the central intendment of this particular bill, but I just want to briefly draw attention, to the issues that I think it should address. The Code of Conduct Bureau is mainly, and tribunal is mainly for public officers and public office holders. Therefore, it has nothing to do with those institutions that are concerned in the financial sector of the economy. So that's not the direction. I think the direction of the bill should be how to capture the code of conduct of those in the financial sector by referring them to the institutions that we have in the financial and the corporate sector. And these institutions are the Central Bank of Nigeria, the National Insurance Commission, the Pension Commission, and Corporate Affairs Commission, and Exchange and Securities Commission. How you work out the bill to make sure that those institutions will remain responsible for the operators within those systems now is what you have to go and write the bill. For you to rely on the issues of having the Code of Conduct Bureau to look into affairs of those who are not in the public sector is going to be a misnomer. So I hope that if this bill passes the second reading, with the grace of my colleagues, the focus of the bill should be directed to these other commissions that normally regulate the affairs of those operators in these sectors. Thank you very much.
Is anybody against the bill? Those in favor that this bill will be now read the second time, say aye. Those against any, there is a clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Bank Employees etc. Declaration of Assets Act B1, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and for related matters 2022, SB 900, second reading.
A bill for an act to amend the Bank Employees etc. Declaration of Assets Act B1, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and for related matters 2022, second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Banking, Insurance, and Other Financial Institutions for further legislative action to report back within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fourth order of the day is the consideration of the report of the Committee on Aviation on the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau Establishment Bill 2022, Senate Bill 197. Mr. President, distinguished senators will recall that the report of the committee was laid on Wednesday, 8th December 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Smart Adeyemi, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the consideration or for the consideration of the report. Mr. President, I think we have noticed a problem in this because this report is already before this report is already before the committee of the whole. So the prayer should be to request the Senate to convene the committee of the whole to continue with the consideration of the report of the committee instead of bringing it de novo.
Where are the copies of the report? Where are the copies? Because we are supposed to go into the committee of the whole to continue. We stop somewhere. Yes. So, leader, you move the motion for the committee of the whole.
So I would like to move the motion that the committee, the Senate reconvenes the committee of the whole to continue with the consideration of this report. I so move.
Minority leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate resolves into committee of the whole to continue with the consideration of the report of our committee on aviation, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clark, where did we stop? 21. Is on page 24. So those in favor of clause 21. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished colleagues, the issue raised in the last sitting was this clause 21 is saying the Bureau shall not later than 30th September each year or other dates stipulated by law or policy, order. Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, I said the Bureau shall not later than 30th September each year or other dates stipulated by law or policy submit to the National Assembly through the minister. And I said there's an issue with that because it says through the minister, an estimate of expenditure or income of the Bureau as approved by the budget for the next fiscal year for incorporation into the national budget. I think I said it is the president that normally forward these things to the National Assembly, not the minister. So I thought the wording, except if I'm wrong.
My understanding is slightly different. The Bureau, the DG or whoever he is, cannot submit to the president, cannot forward to the president. The president, yes, is the one that lays the budget estimates, but it's only the minister that will take it to the council to defend it at the council before the president brings it here. Yeah, I don't know, but it doesn't look harmful to me because it's through the minister that the budget of the Bureau will come to the National Assembly. What is lacking there is to say, if you say through the president and you take out the minister, it's like the DG can now send it to the president. The DG doesn't do that. I think so.
That is to say, submit to the minister an estimate of expenditure or income of the Bureau as approved by the board for the next fiscal year for incorporation into the national budget. No, the national budget is what is brought. So
the president is the one that submits the budget to the National Assembly, even if you don't say it. And the minister and the DG of the Bureau cannot submit the budget estimate to the president. It's the minister that goes to the Federal Executive Council to defend or submit to the Ministry of Finance or whatever. I don't know those who know the system better. Yes, Senator Ibrahim. Go ahead.
Distinguished colleagues, I am of the opinion that what we have put in here is okay, because it has to go through the minister to the National Assembly. It doesn't matter when and how, but at least it goes through the minister. So I think it's good if we can look toward this. It's important.
Yes, sir. So the qualification, I support the Senator Gobel on this one. Because when you say through the minister an estimate of expenditure or income of the Bureau as approved by the board for the next fiscal year for incorporation into the national budget, then it presumes that only the president can bring something into national budget to National Assembly. So if it is couched there, I think it's better to give it like that.
Okay, we'll leave it as it is. Those in favor that clause 21 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Clause 22 annual reports. Clause 23. Clause 24 powers to borrow and invest. Clause 25 exemption from tax. Clause 26 service in the NSIB to be pensionable. Clause 27 appointment of investigators. Clause 28. Clause 29. And clause 30. Those in favor that those clauses stand part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Clause 31 is on page 29, powers of the investigator to search without warrant. Clause 32, clause 33, clause 34, and clause 35. Those in favor that those clauses stand part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Clause 36, offense in respect of exclusion order on page 31, clause 37, clause 38, clause 39, clause 40. Those in favor that clauses 36, 37, 38, 39, and 40 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Clause 41 on page 34, investigations. Those in favor that clauses 41, 42, 43, 44, and 45 on page 38 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Clause 46 draft reports on page 39. Those in favor of clause 46, clause 47, clause 48, clause 49, and clause 50 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Clause 51, those in favor of clause 51, clause 52, clause 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, and 60 on page 50 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those in favor of clause 51, no, clause 61 on page 54, Clause 62, power to obtain information. 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, and 70 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against any, the ayes have it. Clause 71, jurisdiction on page 60. Those who are at clauses 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, and 80 on page 67 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at clause 81, international treaties, conventions, or agreements, and clause 82 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the interpretation on page 69 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at the short title on page 78 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at the schedule on page 78 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at the explanatory memorandum on page 82 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
I rise to move that the chair reports progress. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those who vote that the Senate reverse to plenary for the chair to report progress, say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. The Senate, in the Committee of the Whole, considered the report of the Committee on Aviation on the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau Establishment, etc., Bill 2022, and approved as follows. Long title as recommended, clause 21, 22 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, schedule as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I rise to move that this bill be read at that time. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion moved by the leader and seconded by the minority leader that this bill be now read the third time, say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau for the regulation, prevention, and effective administration for safety investigation in Nigeria and for related matters 2022, SB 197, third reading.
A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau for the regulation, prevention, and effective administration for safety investigation in Nigeria and for related matters 2022, third reading taken, and the bill is passed. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fifth to the eighth order of the day are House bills for concurrence. as listed on the order paper. The distinguished senators will recall that these bills were read the first time in this distinguished chamber on Wednesday, 1st December 2021, Thursday, 30th January 2020, and Tuesday, 7th December 2021, respectively. Mr. President, for the simple nature of these bills and for inter-chamber reciprocity, I will, with your permission, use a single debate on these bills.
Leader, you may proceed.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I stand before you and feel highly honored to be given the opportunity to lead the debate on the concurrences of bills coming from our chamber, our sister chamber of the House of Representatives. These bills are: one, the Chartered Institute of Forensic and Fraud Examiners of Nigeria, Establishment Bill 2022, House Bill 1220. Number two, Nigerian Law Reform Commission Act Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2022. Number three, National Orientation Agency Act Amendment Bill 2022, House Bill 12, and Nigerian Institute of Chartered Foresters Bill 2022. Chartered Institute of Forensic and Fraud Examiners of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2022, which is House Bill 1220, was read the first time on Wednesday, 1st December 2021. This bill seeks to establish the Chartered Institute of Forensics and Certified Fraud Examiners of Nigeria to provide for the control of its membership and promote the practice of forensic and fraud examinations in Nigeria. The Nigerian Law Reform Commission Act, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2022, House Bill number 14, was read the first time on Thursday, 30th January 2020. This bill seeks to repeal the Nigerian Law Reform Commission Act and reenact the Nigerian Law Reform Act 2019 in order to facilitate the effective implementation of the committee's law reform proposals and enhance its operational performance. The National Orientation Agency Act Amendment Bill 2022 was read the first time on Thursday, 30th January 2020. This bill seeks to amend the National Orientation Agency Act N100, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, to provide for an operational framework for the global initiative of Harmony Co, to, among other things, promote inter-ethnic integration, mediation, peace building, mutual understanding, patriotism for peaceful coexistence, and for related matters. The Nigerian Institute of Chartered Foresters Bill was read the first time on Tuesday, 7 December 2021. This bill seeks to establish the Nigerian Institute of Chartered Foresters to provide for the control of its membership and promote the practice of chartered foresters. Mr. President, my respected colleagues, these bills were passed by both chambers of the 8th National Assembly. They were straightforward and have again, through the necessary legislative processes, gone through the necessary legislative process in the House of Representatives. I therefore urge you to support the second reading of these bills as we refer them to the Committee of the Whole with their permission for close consideration. I thank you, Mr. President. I thank you, distinguished colleagues.
Yes. Anybody? Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Anybody against the four bills for second reading? So those who vote that these bills be now read the second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act establish the Chartered Institute of Forensic and Certified Fraud Examiners of Nigeria to provide for the regulation and control of its membership and promote the practice of forensic and fraud examiners in Nigeria and for related matters 2022 HB 120 second reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to repeal the Nigerian Law Reform Commission Act Cap N 118 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 and reenact the Nigerian Law Reform Commission Act 2019 to facilitate the effective implementation of the Commission's law reform proposals and enhance its performance and for related matters 2022 HB 14 second reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the National Orientation Agency Act CAF N46 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 to provide for an operational framework for the global initiative for Harmony Corps in order to promote inter-ethnic integration, mediation, peace building, mutual understanding, patriotism for peaceful coexistence, and for related matters 2022 HB 12 second reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the Nigerian Institute of Chartered Foresters and for related matters 2022 HB 801 second reading.
A bill for an act to establish the Chartered Institute of Forensics and Certified Fraud Examiners of Nigeria to provide for the regulation and control of its membership and promote the practice of forensics and fraud examiners in Nigeria and for related matters 2022 second reading taken. And the bill is referred to the Committee of the Whole. A bill for an act to repeal the Nigerian Law Reform Commission Act Cap N 118 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 and reenact the Nigerian Law Reform Commission Act 2019 to facilitate the effective implementation of the Commission's laws reform proposals and enhance its performance and for related matters 2022 second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Committee of the Whole. A bill for an act to amend the National Orientation Agency Act, Cap N46, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to provide for an operational framework for the global initiative for Harmony Corps in order to promote inter-ethnic integration, mediation, peace building, mutual understanding, patriotism, for peaceful coexistence and for related matters 2022 second reading taken, and the bill is also referred to the Committee of the Whole. And a bill for an act to establish the Nigerian Institute of Chartered Foresters and for related matters 2022 second reading taken, and the bill is also referred to the Committee of the Whole. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, in accordance with Order 79, subsection 1, I will move a motion for all the four bills to be referred to the Committee of the Whole for further legislative action. I so move.
Yeah, Leader, you move for the Committee of the Whole. I've already referred.
Already referred. Okay, Committee of the Whole. So I move that the Senate go into the Committee of the Whole for further legislative action.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate resolves into Committee of the Whole to consider all the four reports, one after another, say aye. Those against, any the ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, we start with Chartered Institute of Forensic and Fraud Examiners of Nigeria. Those in favor of clauses 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 6, appointment of the Board of Diplomats on page 5. Those who are at clauses 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 11, publication of registers on page 8. Those who are at clause 11, clause 12, registration, clause 13, clause 14, clause 15 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are at clause 16, penalties for unprofessional conduct on page 13. Clause 17, clause 18, clause 19, and clause 20, and clause 21 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of the interpretation on page 17 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of the interpretation, Those in favor of the short title on page 18 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of the schedules 1, 2, and 3 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those who were at the explanatory memorandum on page 26 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those who were at the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I rise. We have to go through the
Next report is Nigerian Law Reform Commission Act, repeal and enactment. Those in favor at clause 1, clause 2, clause 3, clause 4, clause 5 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are at clause 5, clause 6, clause 7, clause 8, clause 9, and clause 10 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 11 is on page 7. Power to accept gifts. Those who are at clause 11, clause 12, clause 13, clause 14, and clause 15 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are at the interpretation on page 8 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are at the short title stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are at the explanatory memorandum on page 8 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are at the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Next report. The next report is National Orientation Agency Act Amendment Bill. Those who are at clause 1, clause 2, clause 3, clause 4, clause 5 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. What type of report is this? Distinguished colleagues, I will take this report again, please. Those who are at clause 1 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are at clause 2 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are at the short title stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are at the schedules 1 and 2 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are at the explanatory memorandum on page 17 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. And then the final report. The final report is Nigerian Institute of Chartered Foresters Establishment Bill. Those who are at clause 1, clause 2 functions of the institute, clause 3, clause 4, clause 5, clause 6, clause 7 functions of the council, clause 8, clause 9, and clause 10 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at clause 11, power to invest on page 4, clause 12, power to borrow, clause 13, clause 14, clause 15, clause 16, clause 17, clause 18, clause 19, and clause 20 on page 9 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor at clause 21, 22, 23 on page 12, 24 tribunal, 25, 26, 27 penalties for unprofessional conduct, 28, 29 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the interpretation on page 16 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at the short title on page 17 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at the schedule stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I move that the chair reports progress.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the Senate reverse plenary for the chair to report progress say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the committee of the whole considered the Chartered Institute of Forensic and Fraud Examiners of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2022 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended. Long title as recommended. Clauses as recommended. Clause 1 to 21 as recommended. Interpretation as recommended. Short title as recommended. Schedules 1, 2, and 3 as recommended. Explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the committee of the whole? Thank you. The Senate in the committee of the whole considered the Nigerian Law Reform Commission Act, Repeal and Enactment Bill 2022 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended. Clause 1 to 15 as recommended. Interpretation as recommended. Short title as recommended. Explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the committee of the whole? Thank you. The Senate in the committee of the whole also considered the National Orientation Agency Act Amendment Bill 2022 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended. Clause 1, 2, and 3 as recommended. Short title as recommended. Schedules 1 and 2 as recommended. Explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the committee of the whole? Thank you. The Senate also in the committee of the whole considered the Nigerian Institute of Chartered Foresters Establishment Bill 2022 and approved as follows: long title as recommended, clause 1 to 29 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, short 1 as recommended. This is a total reflection of what transpired in the committee of the whole. Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I rise to move that these bills be read at time. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that all the 4 bills be now read the third time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act established the Chartered Institute of Forensics and Certified Fraud Examiners in Nigeria to provide for the regulation and control of its membership and promote the practice of forensics and fraud examiners in Nigeria and for related matters 2022 HB 1220, third reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to repeal the Nigeria Law Reform Commission Act, Cap 118, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enact the Nigeria Law Reform Commission Act 2019 to facilitate the effective implementation of the Commission's law reform proposals and enhance its performance and for related matters 2022 HB 14, third reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the National Orientation Agency Act, CAF N46, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to provide for the operational framework for the global initiative for harmony course in order to promote the inter-ethnic integration, mediation, peace building, mutual understanding, patriotism for peaceful coexistence, and for related matters 2022 HB 12, third reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act established the Nigerian Institute of Chartered Forensics, Foresters, and for related matters 2022 HB 801, third reading.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to establish the Chartered Institute of Forensics and Certified Fraud Examiners of Nigeria to provide for the regulation and control of its membership and promote the practice of forensics and fraud examiners in Nigeria and for related matters 2022, third reading taken, and the bill is passed. A bill for an act to repeal the Nigerian Law Reform Commission Act, Cap N 118, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enact the Nigerian Law Reform Commission Act 2019 to facilitate the effective implementation of the Commission's laws, reform proposals, and enhance its performance, and for related matters 2022, third reading taken, and the bill is also passed. A bill for an act to amend the National Orientation Agency Act, Cap N46, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to provide for an operational framework for the global initiative for harmony corps in order to promote inter-ethnic integration, mediation, peace building, mutual understanding, patriotism for peaceful coexistence, and for related matters 2022, third reading taken, and the bill is also passed. The bill for an act to establish the Nigerian Institute of Chartered Foresters and for related matters 2022, third reading taken, and the bill is also passed. Congratulations to all of us for this concurrence, and we have been concurring consecutively since the last 2 months. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, having concluded today's proceedings, and the Deputy Senate President is going to say the prayer of the closing prayer. Having concluded today's proceedings on the order paper, I hereby move that the Senate adjourn until tomorrow, Wednesday, 16 February 2022 at 10 a.m. prompt. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Thank you very much, distinguished colleagues. Even if it is an arrears, I should wish all of us very good Valentine Day. It's belated, I know, but it's better late than never. I'm sure our spouses understand the kind of challenges we go through here in the National Assembly, and we want to thank them. We want to appreciate our spouses and our families for giving us all the support and understanding, especially our wives. They know that we have to be somewhere else most of the time when we are supposed to be at home. We don't go anywhere else. We go for committee meetings. We attend party meetings. So we thank you for your understanding. With those remarks, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do adjourn till tomorrow, Wednesday, the 16th day of February 2022 at 10 a.m. say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. You can stay there, Senator Tinubu. The Senate is hereby adjourned till tomorrow, Wednesday, the 16th day of February 2022 at 10 a.m. prompt.